Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you all again and see some of your names, but not your faces. So let's kind of get settled here energetically first, and then we'll go from there. So you want to close your eyes for a minute, and we'll start breathing into that heart space. And let's breathe right into the heart space as if it's the only place that your breath can go. And then we'll exhale out 360 degrees. So you're breathing in all the various aspects of you that you need now, that are supportive of you now. And you're exhaling out those old kind of worn out stories or old concerns, old information. So again, drawing in all the parts of you that are beneficial to your totality now. Might be new skills, might be new thoughts, might be new whatever. Yeah, breathe it deep into the heart, and we'll exhale out. And you could also see this as inhaling empowering awareness, belief, energies, and exhaling out disempowering limitations. Here we go. Okay, so before we open our eyes, there's lots of energy like around the head. You know, there's so much information right now. And, you know, if we're attempting to take it all in, it can kind of literally boggle the mind. You know, it's just reality is changing every single second if you're listening to an external reality or you're focused on an external reality. Whereas if we're focused on an internal reality, things slow down quite a bit. Things get very purposeful and direct. There we go. So we're just clearing the field around the head, especially right side, right eye. Just move that energy out and away. Give us a little bit more space to actually breathe. All right, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so when you're ready, let's go ahead and start with some questions.
All right, first question. My grandson is 4 months old. I am finding my way in how to be a helpful, supporting grandmother. I think I'm trying too hard to be always kind, supportive, say and do the right things, don't want to intrude, yet want to be a part of this family's life. My daughter-in-law has her mom living close by, and I live 3 hours away. I also feel like I am missing out. So how to find balance in this new role without giving up who I am?
Great question. And great that the focus is on, you know, this both knowing who you are and not giving up on whatever that expression of yourself is. So let's see here. So, you know, what's interesting is from the perspective of the 4-month-old, when energy comes into the space that is clear and open and loving and compassionate, that baby is naturally drawn to that energy. When energy comes in that's chaotic and, you know, overwhelming, and that's overwhelming and chaotic for that baby that has this wide open field. So what's interesting is maybe it's not quantity, but it's quality of interaction that you're really looking for. And maybe it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the words that you speak, although those will come too. But maybe it is literally the energy field that you present to that space, right? Maybe it's the energy that you're presenting to that space. And when that's the focus over getting it right, or, when we're really going more internal, where are you in that moment? You just, I don't know about you, you see, but I know that with my own grandson, you see that baby and your heart just, I mean, it's like something opens, like just something opens and you're filled up. And that is an exchange that child will hold on to for as long as they can. They'll hold on to that. They will seek you out. You won't have to worry about trying to find them or trying to find a space. They're going to want to interact with you over the phone, through Zoom, come to your house, whatever those things are. So it's like right now you're kind of setting up that energy. You're setting up that energetic relationship. And what I keep hearing is, when we slip out of the chaos of having to get it right, making sure that everybody's happy, all that, and really just focus on the connection, that heart to heart connection that you want to make with that new little grandchild. That in and of itself is going to create a space that opens up conversation, that opens up dialogue. There's not a mother on the planet that can't see when a relationship is being formed for their child. They know it, and so that is a conversation starter in and of itself. So I would pay less attention to the words that you're trying to say to get it right, and much more attention on just how that space feels, making that connection, not forcing a connection, but just literally opening yourself to receive this beautiful innocence that is there, and being with that. Sometimes just sitting in silence is much more powerful than anything we could say. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, it's funny. I picked up my grandson yesterday, the day before yesterday, and he spent the night Sunday night. And he got in the car, and we're driving up the highway. And I go, Kai, can you feel that? And he goes, what are you feeling? And I said, the energy. I said, there's something that happens, and that's been happening lately when you and I are driving in the car together. And he goes like, yeah. He goes, I know. He goes, that's power. It's like awesome. So that's power. All right.
My state has been in a deeper depression than I have experienced before. I continue to open up to these feelings, yet they return each morning, and I have so many blessings, yet I'm not living in them. Any guidance appreciated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how could we first, let's cut ourselves some slack, because how could we not be feeling all kinds of feelings? How could we not be experiencing, depression, confusion, frustration, irritation, anger, all of those energies that, we've all had in any given time during our lives. And we're taught to kind of push those feelings underneath because they weren't acceptable in a particular situation. But now you've got, billions of people on the planet who are all feeling those same kinds of energies. And so one of the things that's so beautiful about these times right now is this energy, whether we want to or not, is directing us back to some of those unconscious unconscious patterns. Sometimes it's showing us or asking us to unveil or be present to some of those unprocessed or unintegrated feelings. So, number one, please don't think that you're the only person on the planet that is having these feelings, because I guarantee that everybody here could say at one point or another that we've dipped into that. And we could also look at the greater population and know that, yes, we all have that layer of energy. And there was a reason why it was suppressed for a while. And quite frankly, the suppression of that energy helped to perpetuate what was going on in the world. And so, but now it's all up and out, which is really great. I mean, I know it doesn't feel great, but it's all up and out. So, first, let's not blame ourselves for being imprinted with what we were imprinted with, because everybody was. You're not the only one. And second, can we just as if it was somebody else who was feeling that way, can we give ourselves enough space to turn inward and really have some compassion for that part of ourselves that is feeling, sadness, depression? We were brought up in a world, conditioned into a reality where certain things were supposed to make us happy. And then how many people get to those things, money, relationship, whatever, the house, and then they're not happy, right? So these are very, uh, they're rampant. They're foundational to just about everybody. And then the other thing that I'm hearing here too is we can say, yes, everybody has that, but I had, yes, but, no yes buts. Yeah, not let's allow ourselves in this moment to not be the odd one out, to not be the one that is the exception to the rule. Yep, let's allow ourselves to be unified in that way, to know that this is an experience that just about everybody is having at this point, at one point or another. So, one, it's not our fault. Two, can we turn inward and have some compassion for that part of ourselves? And three, in that compassion, acknowledge that this is not a separate experience, because part of the depression comes from this feeling of separation. Yep, we're not separate from that experience.
Okay, next question. I have a workshop scheduled that I purchased a couple of years ago and which has been put off repeatedly by both by me and by them. Now it is online. I have wildly ambivalent feelings about the person offering the work being shared. I have curiosity about why this ambivalence
Ambivalence, yeah.
and and the work being shared. I have curiosity as to why this ambivalence and haven't been able to discern what it's about. There is a sense of no or pushing it away, but it's also a strong pull towards. Any impressions or guidance?
You want an answer that you think that this person has for you, and they may very well have it. They may very well ignite, or that the answer to the question that you actually have, the reason that you originally wanted to go, what you thought you might get from it. It's, to me, all I'm hearing is that you have a question that you want answered, and that question you feel could be answered by this person, and maybe it can. But I would, before you go, or before you don't go, either way, before you go, I would, or participate, I would set the intention. I would ask the question that you really want answered from this experience. And in that way, you're going to release that question into this experience so that that question can actually be answered through it. If you don't, if you decide you don't really want to go, then I would still ask yourself that question that you want answered, and then sit with yourself, or sit, take that question into meditation, or take that question into some kind of silence, take it on a walk with you. But to me, it's the whole experience is about a question that you really want answered. And so if you can figure out what that question actually is, you can go or not go. But either way, ask the question, and not just ask it, but write it down, see the question. Because that way, regardless of whether it comes from within you or from somebody else, you'll get that question answered. You can do it either way.
Okay, this question is, I'm wondering how you feel is most significant about the Lionsgate portal, and how we can consciously assimilate the energies for our greatest good and growth.
Yeah. So we're kind of on the other side. I think we've got another day or so, is what they say, as far as the opening and closing of that 8/8 Lionsgate. And that's a good question. Let me ask a little deeper here. Hold on. Okay. So, I think especially at this time where, these different portals of energy, these opening and closings are, they're resets, they're opportunities to align with something beyond what we've been aligning with. So to me, regardless of whether it's a new moon to full moon cycle, or maybe a bigger, let's say, quote unquote, bigger galactic configuration, and a portal, as they say, 8/8. Again, to me, it's drawing all the information in those moments and choosing what we want to reset. It's literally back to what we were just talking about. It's kind of, what questions are we willing to ask now? What direction do we want to go now? And we're not dependent. Hold on a second. We're not dependent on these portals for our advancement, or for our evolution, or for going to another state of our own consciousness. But we can use them as touchstones to create beyond the reality that we've created to date. Yeah. So in some ways, and I don't mean this with sarcasm, but it's at some point, I would love to see that every morning that we wake up is a portal. Every day that we wake up, and I'm not there yet. I'm not, but that's what I'm hearing. It's like that every day is an opportunity to align with another state of our consciousness. And I think it's also the reason why, at least here in this conversation, we're talking about pulling closer some of those broader states, some of those states of consciousness, or those aspects of ourselves that we don't typically use all the time. We haven't been conditioned to use. It's almost like every portal every new moon cycle, every, in some ways, every holiday or something that is marked like that, again, we get to decide how we use that energy. It's not what somebody tells us that that energy is for. We align with that portal, and what do we want to create through that portal? Yep. That's, to me, that's a bigger question for each and every one of us, and it directs us right back to our own creativity, to our own power, to the fact that somebody else out there is, somebody can tell you this is what this portal's about and this is the alignment and the astrological pieces of it. I think that's all great. That's wonderful. But I also would suggest that we take that information and apply it directly to what we want to bring forth, what we want to create. We're kind of using it as a little bit of rocket fuel. Yeah.
All right. Next question. How do you recommend connecting to the quantum field? Do you use your heart, your third eye, or what? They're kind of confused.
When you say quantum field, are you talking about your own? Are you talking about your own totality? Are you talking about all that is, ever has been, ever will be? Or are you talking about a physics-based construct of a quantum field? So,
Both and.
okay, well, to me, they're different structures. To me, they're different realities, and let me see if that's true. Hold on a second. So if I look at connecting to the quantum field, that is an aspect of your totality. That's an aspect of all that is, ever has been, ever will be. Yeah. And honestly, it is as easy as plugging into the quantum field. I mean, just simply sit, call forth the quantum field, and feel the presence, the essence, the energy that takes place, the way the field changes simply because you're connected to that quantum field. And then allow that quantum field to teach you about your capacities within that field. So the connection part really is not challenging. It's a lot of times we ask the question, but then we get bogged down in the, in the steps, the 7 steps to, or whatever. And what if it could be, from the totality of your being, all that is, ever has been, ever will be, that's what you are. And so if you're all that is, ever has been, ever will be, then you can align with whatever you choose to align with. You can have the experience of what you, I'll say, what your consciousness can actually ask for and receive. So in this case, that quantum field, I would sit in it. I would just sit in that field and let the field tell you what you know about it. Let the field tell you or inform you about what your capacity is within that quantum field. So that quantum field is within, let's say, all that you are, all that is, ever has been, ever will be. Yeah. So you can also choose other fields from all that is, ever has been, ever will be.
So her question is in her focus of meditation, is the intention to look into my heart or look out into the expansiveness? That's the part that confuses me.
Um, uh, Either or. Again, the assumption that it's a both and. It's not an either or. And so for instance, like right here, if we're sitting here with our eyes closed and we draw the quantum field closer, we assume that our physicality is an aspect, or maybe the center aspect, the focal in this world aspect of all that is, ever has been, ever will be. And within that, we draw close to us the quantum field. That quantum field coming closer is going to alter something in our awareness. It might open our heart. It might open our minds. It might relax our bodies. We don't know. You see, so if we're just sitting in that space and commanding that quantum field to come closer, it's telling us whether it's coming through the heart or somewhere else or everywhere. And just about everybody who's doing this right now is having a slightly different experience of it, feeling that quantum field in a different way. Yeah. And I think it has more to do when you're drawing that quantum field in. What opens or closes or has more to do with how that quantum field is impacting your physical body. Yep, I would do it from that direction instead of, okay, do I connect with my heart and go out? No, you're all of it already, so just bring it in close.
Okay, this question is, it seems I sit in a blank canvas state these days, in between old and new worlds, states of consciousness, so it's hard for me to connect with what used to be important and hard to imagine what is important for the future.
Mhm.
Any suggestions?
Yeah, I want to ask this question too. So thank you. Yeah, in between worlds, big time. So let's see here. So the very first thing that I hear is, can it just can it be okay to just be in between worlds? Does there have to be does there does there have to be excuse me, um, a focus on where we were or where we're going? It's like that blank blank canvas is, it's interesting. It's like what you're showing me is that now moment of that blank canvas is all that is, ever has been, ever will be, not yet in form. Yeah. And so, what a delicious place to hang out for a while. Honestly, it's like, no story from the past and no striving for the future. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know about you, but it just makes me want to take a nap. It's like relaxation. Um, and I think that this brings up another point too, and is that we, again, our conditioning is past, future, jumping over the present all the time, literally jumping over the gift that's right there. Yeah, the present gift, presence. Yeah. So what happens if we just sit in that space? That no thingness, no thing created physically yet, but still everything there. In some ways, that's kind of like a unified state. And this whole idea that we have to get somewhere or we have to do something, I think that in and of itself is, let's say, an old world reality or an old world programming that is probably the reason why you're not being able to, that you're not able to move forward, or you're not, nothing's coming next, because you're burning off this old conditioning that is, I mean, and when I'm talking old, I mean old. It's so embedded in each one of us. What's next? Come on, come on, come on. What's next? Gotta go. Am I on purpose? Am I driven? Am I going? It's like that in and of itself, to sit in the space exactly where you are and allow that space to just fill you up, take you over, yeah, to really inform you of what it is to create out of no thing. Yeah, that's the shift right there. Yeah, big one. Yeah, thank you.
All right, this question. I feel like I likely do have many questions, but never can quite put them into written format. Can you let me know how I can support myself in terms of communication?
Even writing that one down, you know, um, how can I support myself in ways of communication? I mean, that is a question, a beautiful question to really take into, again, to take on a walk with you or to take into meditation. I heard somebody yesterday was talking, and he was talking about how the questions that we have are at one level of consciousness, and the answer is always at another level of consciousness. I mean, a true answer is at a whole nother level of consciousness. So first, let's just acknowledge that all these questions that we have, how to be a better this, how to get there, what to do next, I swim in these all day, every day as well. And it was really helpful anyway to hear that number one, all of our questions come from our programming. Yeah. So all of those questions come from the programming. And what we're really asking is that whatever question we have, we're just kind of giving that programming or that question that level of consciousness. We're writing it down and we're giving that over. We're taking it on a walk, we're giving it over to, all that is, ever has been, ever will be, the parts of us that can actually answer that question, or the parts of all that is, ever has been, ever will be, that can answer that question. I think the bigger question is, do we want the question answered? Yeah, I think that's the bigger question, because if we really want that question answered, we already know that we can't answer it with our minds. We literally have to give it over to another part of ourselves that has that answer. And so, yeah. And I'm not being evasive in this, but I will tell you right now, it's probably more important than ever that we all get into some kind of rhythm with this, where we can ask a question and understand that it's coming from a conditioned space, and that's not bad, where everybody has that. So we're taking our conditioned question and we're offering it to a bigger field of energy, the bigger totality that we are, and we're taking that into meditation, taking that into a walk, whatever that is, taking it on a drive, mine taking it into the shower. It's like those places where our minds naturally kind of become a little bit more clear. Yeah. And just it literally is, you will receive the response to that in the exact moment that you are that we any of us, we receive that response in the exact moment that we're actually ready for the answer. Yeah, because a lot of times, let me tell you, the answer to these questions, they blow our stories right out of the water. it's like it's like, shit, can't be that anymore. It's like I have a new identity, and so yeah. Well, so let's just do this here. Is I mean, how do I want to say this? Hold on. So none of us are so much becoming anything. In some ways, there's kind of nowhere to go. We're not becoming anything, but we are dismantling all the crap that got layered up on top of what we actually are, both as individuals and as a collective humanity. And so it's quite a thing to literally watch everything crumble around you. And it's not just happening out in the world. I mean, this is happening in our own lives. The parts of us that that were just obstructing the reality of what we actually are, man, they're falling fast. Controlled demolition. It's just like, it's free fall at this point. Yeah. So and again, we can exert a whole lot of energy trying to hold something up that's in free fall, but I guarantee that if you're trying to do that, you're going to be kind of crushed under the rubble. It's so, let's step back for a second. Let's step back and watch what's falling, and that not just in our own lives, but out in the world, in the lives of the people that we love and that are close to us. We're so used to stepping in and trying to stop the fall. But the fact is that what's falling needs to fall. What's falling has to go. And from my vantage point anyway, when it's all said and done, it will all fall. It will all go. And to me, the struggle or the suffering part of it, both in my personal life and when I look out collectively, has more to do with, how comfortable I am in allowing those identities to fall. How comfortable I feel in not being the fixer. Yeah, not trying to make it better for somebody who's not asking, to have it made better. They seem to be getting on just fine all by themselves. In their world, they may be feeling much better than I am in trying to support their world, right? So, it's one thing if somebody asks, a question. And it's quite another thing to, assume that our reality needs to be somebody else's reality. Yeah. And I truly, truly believe that as we allow what wants to fall and crumble within each one of us, that does more for igniting something new than just about anything else, because that outer landscape out there, that's us. We collectively, in many ways, uh, this isn't a blame, but our collective agreement on that reality is what held that collective reality in place. And we already know that we've changed because it's changing. It's in free fall, right? We already know that something is shifted within us. And so now it's just a matter of turning that attention back inward and allowing all those parts that we think are that need to be projected out, where we're placing blame or shame out there, and just turn it back in. It's like, okay, where is that something that wants to be dismantled within me? Yeah, yeah. So there you have it. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys for the questions. And yeah, you could just feel, I don't know about you, but I just feel like I come into these calls and there can feel like there's a little bit of a contraction or a compression. And then as we have this dialogue, it's something just keeps opening, opening, opening. So we can call forth from that space now as we go through the next week or so, and it'll serve us well. So, all right. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.